And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first COP26 Vigil. So this year's COP is hosted by the UK and is being held in Glasgow, Scotland. Around 200 political heads of government are likely to be there, although some will be attending via video link and won't be there in person. This making COP26 the largest political gathering the UK has ever hosted. Government officials and delegates, a whole range of media personnel, representatives from climate organisations, businesses, academia, and state and local governments from all over the world will also be going to the summit. COP26 is being heralded as one of the most important climate events of the decade, and for good reason too. Global emissions must plummet within the next decade if we're to avoid catastrophic climate impacts. COP26 is primarily concerned with countries ramping up their commitments to reduce emissions by 2030. After many failed COP summits over the years, countries finally reached a binding and universal agreement to guide and accelerate international cooperation on climate change in 2015 at COP21 in Paris. It resulted in 195 countries around the world signing a treaty known as the Paris Agreement, agreeing to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees and to pursue efforts to limit warming to 1.5 degrees. The latest science affirms that breaching the agreement's temperature goal would prove disastrous for humanity in the form of catastrophic extreme weather events and potentially unlivable conditions. Importantly, COP26 falls around the 5-year mark since the Paris Agreement was signed, so countries are expected to ramp up their emissions reduction targets to satisfy their commitment to that Paris Agreement. Emission reduction targets are all about change and mitigation, i.e. slashing emissions of greenhouse gas to limit the harm that is done to the global climate. However, another key element of the discussion is also around adaptation. What steps we will have to take in the future to adapt to the climate challenges that have already been locked in. Adaptation, of course, is an important part of the conversation, especially for developing nations and small island states that will suffer the most under a changed climate. We've already hit 1.1 degrees of global warming, and we're already experiencing accelerating climate impacts because of it. And unfortunately, there is far worse to come. That said, adaptation plans must not take the pressure off mitigation plans. Without significant, urgent, permanent emissions reductions, it will not be possible to adapt to the worst of climate change. We need to see significant progress and investment from all countries, particularly the richest, who are responsible for the highest emissions. Now, we're here tonight for a couple of reasons. One, to broadcast our statement to the people who are at COP26, and also to set our personal intentions. What would we like to come from this? Anne, over to you.
Our policy statement is we only have 9 years left to prevent catastrophic global temperature rise. It will wreck many more lives all around the world. We have a huge opportunity to do what it takes. Right here, right now, in the UK. This November in Glasgow, world-changing decisions will be made that will have a huge impact on all of us. The UK will be hosting the 26th UN Climate Change Conference, COP26, attended by world leaders and nearly 200 governments. UK emissions are still well above what is sustainable. We are among the world's biggest emitters, with the US being the worst, so we have a big part to play. As hosts of COP26, the UK should lead global action on reducing carbon emissions, ensuring all countries commit to their fair share of cuts needed to limit global warming to 1.5 centigrade. To be a credible leader, the UK needs to walk the walk and reverse recent decisions to approve a new coal mine in Cumbria, new licenses for North Sea and gas exploration, lead global action on getting rich countries to increase funding to communities on the front lines of crisis. To do this, the UK needs to reverse its recent cuts to the aid budget. Climate change is the biggest threat to humankind. Extreme weather wrecks lives, homes, communities, and pushes people deeper into poverty. It is our problem to solve together, in solidarity with people all over the world. We can push governments to make the changes we need. People of every generation have made their commitment to reduce carbon emissions clear through strikes, marches, and changes in our own lives. The climate crisis is here, and voices around the world are calling for action. Now is the time for our government to step up. We at the Pagan Federation call for a greener, fairer future now. What we do now affects millions of people being pushed deeper into poverty by climate change. We must take action now as the UK hosts this year's conference. And that's your lot.
Thank you, Anne. I think most people know how important the discussion is around COP26 and the actions that come of it. What is your personal wish for the outcome of COP26, Anne?
I would like to see, certainly I'd like to see us not digging for any more coal, and looking, they need to look at electric more closely than they are, electric generation more closely than they are. We desperately need more wind farms, solar farms. We're going to be we've got all this new technology that says, oh, electric's the way to go. But the problem with that is you've got to generate the electric in the first place. And at the moment, we only just about generate enough electric for us to accommodate our needs. So we can't bump up how much electricity we're going to use unless we learn to generate more electric in a more efficient manner. One thing that frightens me, and I use that quite strongly, it really frightens me, that we are going to start more nuclear power stations. And with nuclear power stations, we just do not know what we're going to do with nuclear waste. So that's me.
Thanks, Anne. I think for me, having young children and children who are young adults, there is definitely a concern that this world is going to change beyond recognition, and they're losing hope, which is horrendous. So I would like to see some real commitment to those changes that need to happen, so our next generation has a flicker of hope for a better life than the one they're facing right now. I really want them to hold, especially bigger businesses, better to account, so they can.
Oh well, no, Sarah's frozen.
My apologies, kind of slipped out there.
I was got to, I lost you there, Sarah.
So I would definitely like to see bigger businesses being taken. My apologies, I don't quite know what happened there.
No.
Yeah, I would like to see bigger businesses being taken, held accountable for their sustainability and for being responsible for better practices, for sure. And I think they're the main things that I would like to see come out of COP26. For me, more hope for my kids is the big one.
And it's not so much just your kids, it's your children's children.
It's my grandchildren as well, and actually my great-grandchildren, because the impacts of this
it's them that's going to really feel it.
Yeah.
We desperately need to put money into new technology that we just haven't got now.
Yes.
Because there's so much more that we could be doing. It's like for car fuel, there's a move into hydrogen, which is just the only emissions it has is water. So you haven't got the greenhouse thing. We need to think about flights.
Yes.
When everybody goes on holiday, oh yes, I want to go to the other side of the world. Woohoo! No, you don't. We live in a beautiful country. We need to explore it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Would you like to read your piece, Anne?
Yeah. This is a prayer to the Great Mother. Great Mother Earth of the land, sea and sky, we thank you for all the wonders you share with us. Forgive us for the pain we are causing you. Help us protect and nurture you once again. We ask that leaders from all countries are able to work together in harmony towards this common goal. We ask that those leaders give you the time you need to heal yourself. Let us help heal your wounds with our love, thoughts, deeds, actions in our everyday lives. We light a candle not to mourn the dying earth, but to light the path of her healing and the beginning of a better world. If you'd like to light your candle, Sarah. I don't know whether you can see it now. And there she is.
I'm now going to read a chant written by Jill Davis for the very first Earth Healing Day that really spoke to me, and I'd like to read it today. Wake the flame inside us, burn and burn below, fire seed and fire feed and make the magic grow. Shout unto our inner selves, men and women, all open up our inner ears so we may hear the call. Wake the flame inside, burn and burn without, fire seed and fire feed and squeeze the poison out. The silent scream of dolphins, the dark long wail of earth, the thrashing of a poisoned sea, the silence of stillbirth. The creeping poison in the air, the acid in the rain, corrosion in the soul of greed, the fever in the brain. Wake the flame inside us, burn and turn without, fire seed and fire feed and squeeze the poison out. We call to you from north and south to come to us this hour, and east and west to join us with your strength and might and power. Wake the flame inside us, burn now and without end, fire seed and fire feed, and make the earth to mend. Thank you for joining us tonight. We will be back at 7 o'clock next Sunday with our second COP26 vigil. We would love for you to join us. If you follow the Pagan Federation page on Facebook, all the details will be available on there. Thank you very much.
Blessed be everyone.